History is a curated lie. We are taught that the world moves by the will of the masses, by the power of the vote, and by the logic of the marketplace. But those who have climbed high enough to see the gears know better. In 1928, a man named Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, wrote these words: "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country." Bernays didn't see people as individuals. He saw them as a herd to be steered. He realized that the human animal is not driven by logic, but by a deep, dark reservoir of subconscious desires: fear, status, sex, and tribalism. If you are watching this, you've likely felt it. That nagging suspicion that your goals aren't entirely your own, that your fears have been packaged and sold to you. Today, we pull back the veil. We are moving beyond the surface-level hacks and into the bedrock of psychological architecture. If you are ready to stop being the fly and start being the spider, subscribe to Mindset Narratives. The training begins now. To control a man, you do not need to lock him in a cell. You simply need to ensure he never looks at the door. This is the priming protocol in the laboratory of human behavior. Priming is the act of exposing someone to a stimulus that influences their response to a later stimulus without them ever being aware of the connection. Think of your mind as a garden. If I want you to plant a specific seed, I don't give you the seed. I spend weeks changing the pH of the soil. I adjust the light. I control the water. By the time I offer you the seed, your environment makes it the only logical choice to grow. Let's look at the master at work. In the 1920s, there was a taboo against women smoking in public. For the tobacco companies, this was a market disaster. 50% of the population was untapped. A lesser mind would have run ads saying, "Cigarettes taste good." Bernays did something colder. He consulted a psychoanalyst who told him that cigarettes were a symbol of male power. Bernays didn't sell tobacco. He sold rebellion. He hired debutantes to march in the New York City Easter Parade. He told the press they were suffragettes, and they would be lighting torches of freedom. With one single phrase, he linked a lethal habit to the most sacred value in the American psyche: liberty. The taboo shattered, not through logic, but through emotional transference. He bypassed the brain and hit the identity. This happens to you every day. Why do you feel productive in a high-end coffee shop, but lazy in your bedroom? Why do you feel submissive in a bank with marble floors and 20-foot ceilings? This is architectural intimidation. Large, cold. Spaces are designed to make the individual feel small. When you feel small, you look for authority. And when you look for authority, you are ready to be told what to do. Manipulation is rarely about the thing itself. It is about the thing relative to something else. This is the contrast principle. In the architecture of the mind, we do not perceive value in a vacuum. We perceive it through comparison. If I ask you for $10,000 for a marketing consult, your logical brain screams, no. But if I spend 2 hours showing you how your current path is going to lose you $200,000 in the next 6 months, that $10,000 suddenly feels like a bargain. I haven't changed the price. I've changed the anchor. Real estate agents use this with the setup house. They show you a crumbling, overpriced wreck first. They let you sit in the silence of that disaster. Then, they show you a normal house at the same price. Your brain, desperate to escape the first trauma, falls in love with the second. even if it is still overpriced. You weren't sold a house. You were sold an escape. To use the anchor, you must first establish the pain point. You must define the expensive disaster so that your solution looks like the only life raft in a storm. Control the baseline, and you control the choice. Now, we move into the darkest weapon in the architect's toolkit. Why is it that we crave the person who ignores us more than the one who adores us? The answer is found in the variable ratio schedule. In 1957, B.F. Skinner discovered that if you give a lab rat a food pellet every time it presses a lever, the rat stays calm. But if you give the rat a pellet at random, the rat becomes obsessed. It will press that lever until its heart stops. It has become a gambler. This is intermittent reinforcement. It is the engine behind every slot machine in Las Vegas, every notification on your phone, and every toxic relationship you've ever stayed in. By withdrawing validation or communication at random intervals, you create a dopamine hunger. The target isn't staying for the love you give them. They are staying for the possibility of the love you might give them. If you are always available, you are a commodity. If you are sometimes available, you are an addiction. The architect doesn't build a partnership. He builds a slot machine, and the house always wins. Most people believe that to win someone over, you must do them a favor. They are wrong. In the 18th century, Benjamin Franklin discovered a paradox of human nature. If you want someone to like you, do not do them a favor. Instead, make them do you a favor. This is the Ben Franklin effect. It is driven by cognitive dissonance. When someone does something for you, their brain must justify why. It tells itself, I wouldn't be helping him if I didn't like him. To resolve the internal conflict, they create a fictional affinity for you. This is the ultimate social engineering hack. It transforms an enemy into an ally through their own psychological need for consistency. But there is a second edge to this blade: the law of reciprocity. When you give something for free, you create a psychological debt, a social itch that the target must scratch to feel balanced. The architect never gives a gift. He plants a debt. He knows that a small, unsolicited favor today can be traded for a massive, life-altering concession tomorrow. Give the free sample, offer the no-strings advice, then wait for the debt to ripen. We have walked through the shadows. We have seen the masks of the narcissist, the Machiavellian, and the psychopath. These are not just disorders. They are the survival mechanisms of the ego. The narcissist craves your worship because he is hollow. The Machiavellian sees you as a tool because he is terrified of being used himself. And the psychopath doesn't feel your pain because he has turned off the mirror. You must understand these archetypes, not to become them, but to survive them. This is the Ronin shield. To know the weapon is to be immune to its edge. The ultimate manipulation is the one you perform on yourself. The ability to look in the mirror and see the architect, the Ronin, and the human, all at once. You now have the blueprints of control. You have the grammar of the invisible government. The question is no longer, how are they playing me? The question is, what am I going to build now that I know the rules? Deep, steady tone. Knowledge without execution is just a more expensive form of failure. You have spent the last hour learning the architecture of the mind. Do not let this be another ornamented sword in your collection. Do not let this dopamine hit replace your drive to act. The world is a web of influence. You are either the weaver or you are the fly. If this deep dive has opened your eyes, if you are ready to stop reacting and start architecting your reality, then you belong here. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the circle of practitioners. The execution protocol is live. This is Mindset Narratives. Leave the loop behind.